Hey, Chris Liepe here for the Recording Revolution, and I've got the isolated guitar tracks for Muse, Knights of Cydonia, and we're going to go through and study the tones, some of the playing techniques, and the overall arrangement of this track, and we're going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And the point of going through an exercise like this with isolated guitar tracks isn't to learn the exact lines. It's not even to get the exact sounds. We're not going to get the exact sounds because we're not using the same gear that they used. It is, though, to get close, to let what they're doing inspire us in our playing and in our production, and play with what we have, utilize what we have, and use our ears. Make some educated guesses based upon what we know in our own playing and with our own guitars and our own setup, and be inspired to try new things based on what they're doing. And if you'd like more help with your guitar tone and your playing and production in general, click the link below and download my free PDF. All right, from the top. All right, I'd like to make a couple observations right off the bat. First of all, listen to that acoustic guitar, how aggressively it's played. He's providing this faster rhythm, and it's coming from just one place in the mix. I mean, just right over here. Make sure you're listening in headphones for this video. It's going to serve you well. And then the arrangement has these sustained notes with the electric guitar, which also isn't super wide. These are not doubled guitars. You've got a distinct part going with the acoustic, and then you've got this center part with the electric. Listen again. If you watch live videos of this performance, he's playing a guitar more like this. A double humbucker sort of thing. It's got the tremolo system on it. But this particular sound at the beginning, at least in the studio recording, has a spankier sound to it than at least I can get out of that. I do believe that in this track, there's a lot of that double humbucker, high gain, sort of darker sound. But if we really want a spanky sound and are still able to feed it a decent amount of gain, P90s are the way to go. So listen to this one more time here. This is the same tone that kind of goes through here. It's got that at the top, really, really cool sound. So if I develop a tone that is based around these P90s, I'm using Waves GTR for all of this, and you can find this plugin on sale for like $30. You can, of course, use any sort of amp sim that you want. I like this one because it's very modular and it's cheap. You can get a lot of great sounds out of it. It has that throat. But it's also got that at the top. So what I'm doing here is using an overdrive model. This is based loosely on a Marshall sound, an on-axis mic, and I'm using a little bit of a 16th note delay and a reverb after the amp. It brings out the space in the guitar and yet still allows it to be focused. Listen to his sound. And a reminder that that rhythm is really being propelled not by the electric. We're not doing this for the approach. We're letting those notes hang out and letting that guitar, that acoustic guitar, really drive that rhythm, allowing for sustain and that throatiness to really come through. Then with this same sound, we move on. I like that little bend in there. Listen again. And we're not going for really precise picking, we're going for tremolo picking. The point is to accentuate that spank. Clean, let your skin touch the string a little bit as you get a little bit of those harmonic things. We'll hear more of that in a little bit. But this is not like, let's be right on with 16th notes and be real accurate to when we change notes. This is more of like a Dick Dale surf guitar sort of thing happening with a bit more beef. Now here, you can hear the difference in guitar tones, and it sounds like he's switching guitars here. You hear that punch. It goes to more of a fold back, kind of a fuzz sound, multi-layered distortion, and it's also a lot darker than this spanky, that sound. Listen again here. Here's the contrast. Doubled. Surf sort of slide down. But yeah, notice the subtleties of the guitar. This is the point at which, at least in this studio arrangement, I think we go over to the double humbucking sound and let that foundation inform the other things that we do. And you can also hear things that he's doing with the bar as well. Listen with the same patch that I've got, how different these guitars sound and react to this sound. Flatter. Not flatter as in pitch, but not as spanky, more sustained, darker. And you definitely hear that transition here. And you hear that bar depressing on that E, right? Right here, listen. That is so heavily distorted right there. Let's go to something else here now. What I've done is I've built on the other tone. We're using a different amp, though. This is a hot, so more drive, but I've turned the drive all the way down here, and I have created a Stompbox chain. We'll start with fuzz, but I think the buzz works really well too. It's important to note that playing with this much gain and having that kind of legato sound requires careful muting with both hands, right? Combination of using the bar for vibrato and also to get those, to keep the sound going. But if I'm not careful, while I'm using the bar, I can awaken some of these other strings. We want to be careful of that. He's very free with it though, and very improvisational, which is, it's neat, it's inspiring. Easy to get carried away, but really fun to play with. He's layering a more distorted foundational amp with a fuzz pedal. Now, it also works well with the buzz sound. It's just buzz is a more extreme version of fuzz, really, in this case. You can hear it's a little brighter, a little buzzier. So it's fun to experiment with those sort of derivative sounds. All right, listening on. Now here, it sounds like he's going back to the same tone that we had at the beginning, but using that less spanky sounding guitar, that smoother sound. And I think it's important to note with all of these sorts of lines, which string you use makes a difference. You know, when we're doing it here, that gives us a very different sound than when we're doing it on our high E string. It's brasher. And I feel that there's this softness to what he's doing, even though it's pretty brash. And what he does live and what he does in the studio oftentimes are not the same at all. But here, there's that mellower sound that comes off the strings. Same for the lines we were doing earlier. We weren't using the D string, we were using the A string because it's slightly rounder, slightly darker. Listening on. Now listen to what's going on with the delay. Listen very carefully. That sounds like a half note delay, but it also sounds unlike a lot of patches. The real guitar, the up-front guitar, is full bandwidth, but there is a band limiting going on the delayed sound. In order to create that sound, we need to take a different approach with how we route our effects. We went back to our overdrive sound. I've turned the delay off here and I've added a little bit of reverb to the amp, although I've turned the reverb down. But then we're adding some delay on an aux track. This is going to allow us to control the delay sound, the delay pedal sound, and the EQ on it differently from the direct guitar sound. And I've added, this is a Memory Man sort of setup here. You can hear the modulation going on. You can hear that subtle modulation as well as band limiting going on in the delay. So in order to capture that, I've used a Memory Man setting here. We're synced to tempo, we're synced to half note, and then I've added a little bit of additional modulation. This is a free chorus pedal from Tal Chorus. And then we've added room reverb specifically to our affected delay. So we've got this going on first. So a little bit of reverb there, fairly dry. But then we put in the effects chain with our band limited delay that has the mod on it, synced to half notes. Again, here's what's going on. Ah, you hear what different placement it has now. And then listen. Sounds very similar to this. You hear how the delay comes back on itself. Da, 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 da. And then you hear him diving into these chords. Maybe a little softer. He's definitely got that bar going. Really leaning into a particular effects chain. Still sounds like he's using, of course, he's using the bar, but this sounds like the rounder, warmer sound rather than the spankier sound. Same thing. You can hear that delay really carrying the line, but he's leaning into the delay. It's part of the sound. Nice harmonic overtone there. Subtle modulation. It's refreshing. Back to that intro sound. Spanky, P90 sound. Love the sound of that. Now listen to this next section. Muse does a lot of this kind of thing where they blend the sound of synths and guitar. So keep this sound in mind. clearly sounds like a synth to me. But keep that buzzy, synthy sound in mind because it sounds guitar-oriented too, and later on they'll blend that with a guitar. And then listen to this sound. Listen to that long tail reverb. It's placed differently than the guitar itself. We've got a hard right guitar pan here, and then you can even see it in the file right here where you've got the reverb going on more centered or more ambient all over the spectrum. For this sound, I've made another couple modifications to our foundational sound. I've gone back to this guitar. I've gone with this overdrive amp that we started with, presence up, like it has been. But then I've added a bit more reverb back, turning the delay down. But then I've added this distortion layer. Here's what it sounds like without it. We needed something else. So, putting this in, I've turned the drive all the way down, so it's boosting the distortion that comes from our amp, and I've turned the contour all the way down. So I've turned, essentially I'm fighting against the presence on the amp. Notice that it's this honky sound now. Almost bringing out the harmonics aspect of the playing. Listen to what he's doing here. You can totally hear that happening. So using a distortion pedal with a contour knob, bringing up the tone a little bit, and then you've got this sound, which sounds awfully similar to what he's doing. Layered distortions. That concept of contour versus tone and layering the distortion over the overdrive creates that nice, unique honk. Almost sounds like a wah, and it could very well be done with a wah pedal also, where he has the wah pedal just back. Here it is with the wah instead of the contour, just for comparison's sake. This brings out slightly different things. Now this sounds to me like we've returned to our fundamental sound from the beginning, but we're playing it on both guitars. So you can hear it's doubled now. We've got that throatiness with a bit more presence. And I would venture to say he's playing it on his A string there instead of here. At least that's how I would do it. Listen to this. That twang is more apparent on my guitar there. But if you combine this sound with a maybe slightly varied approach, choosing slightly different strings on the humbucking guitar, you get that really nice variance. You get the darkness, you get the and you get the throat. All very cool ways of, crafting your doubles so that it's not just the same thing twice. There's slightly varied approaches, and you can really hear that when you dig in here toward the end. Plus, when they add their signature synth layering over the top of it, you get an extra degree of fizz, which has always vexed me when you're listening to Muse and you hear this broad spectrum of stuff. The way they blend synth and guitar sounds is really unique. Listen to this. So here's the guitar, layered, then They have that arpeggiating thing going in the background with that extra degree of fizz and that motion. It's so neat. Little string stuff happening here. I like that. Thanks for joining me for this study of Muse, Knights of Cydonia, and exploring what we can do with our own playing in light of what they did using the isolated guitar tracks. Again, if you want more help with your tone and playing, click the link below for my free PDF. We'll see you for more.